Hello and welcome to another edition of the Chartered Career Chat series. Today I am delighted to welcome Carmel Moore. Carmel, thank you so much for joining us.
A pleasure, Sinead. Great to be here.
Well, look, rather than me introduce you, what would be lovely is if you maybe give us an up-to-date outline of where you're at in your chartered career story.
That's a great question, Sinead. I'm very glad you didn't ask me to take people through from the beginning to now, because I understand from you that this is a relatively short interview, and my career in chartered accountancy started back in 1983. So back when hair was big and leg warmers were the choice of leg wear in the office. I'm only joking. That was not the case. So where am I in my career? I would say at a new peak, and there have been many. Our careers aren't just one big arc, and when you get to my age, it tails off or plateaus. So at the moment, I've got lots going on. You'll be glad to hear. I guess the main part of my career is the consulting work I do, and which I'm so passionate about, with the One Moment Company, which is just a business I love. And I work with my business partner, who is not an accountant. He's a speaker, an author, a consultant, a meditation master, and a Zen priest. So he is the opposite of chartered accountant, I'd imagine. And in our business, we're focused on removing time as an obstacle for people and for organizations. And up until earlier this year, we taught a wonderful program called Time Mastery for Leaders. And we looked at Bill Gates thinking that busy is the new stupid. And our program was really designed to help busy leaders really understand their relationship with time and how we could help them transform that and lead their organizations. And since lockdown, we've had to really rethink our proposition, and we've just finished teaching a 6-week cycle of the new rules of time, because I guess, I don't know if, like for you, Sinead, but everything about time has changed in these past 10 weeks. And how we live our lives, how we structure our work, all of that is going to have to change. So we've spent 6 weeks with a group of 50 people from all over the world, just from some wonderful organizations, wonderful places. And we've been reflecting what's been going on for them in this time, and helping them design the new rules that they need for their teams and their people to lead them out of lockdown and back into whatever the workplace will be. So that's one thing I'm doing at the moment, and I just couldn't love it anymore. I also do, it's like my career has come like full circle. So I started my career back in 1983 in what was then Stokes Kennedy Crowley in Dublin, the well-known Stokes Place. And I'm now spending a couple of lovely days every week in KPMG in London, in Canary Wharf, when we get back there. And I work as part of the global compliance and transformation team, and taking all my years of experience in tax transformation and working with that team there to really help them think through what clients need. And that's really enjoyable. And then I also do some executive coaching as well. So I guess there's quite a lot going on. So that's where I am in my career as we speak.
Oh, wow, Carmel. Like years of difference to what maybe the perception of a traditional chartered accountant might be. It might actually make sense to rewind a little bit and give me a very quick whistle-stop tour of how you got to where you are now, and what was your entry route into the profession and then through to your current post.
Well, you might be disappointed to hear that I didn't have like a burning passion and wake up at the age of 6 and say, oh my God, all I want to be is a chartered accountant. My dad was an accountant, so that may have had something to do with it. But actually, I think my driving attraction towards chartered accountancy was probably a desire not to continue to do law. So it was an away from rather than a towards. And I'd say it's a really good question. What's the thread that's taken me through to this? And it has been a thread. It wasn't just a moment of like midlife madness. The thing that really joins the dots on everything I've done is change and transformation. And I think it started, Sinead, with, I think I was the first person to reorganize the filing system in the tax cabinets in Stokes Place back in the day, because I could not stand how much time it took to find what you needed.
Yeah.
And the whole way through my career, that's been the piece that's joining the dots. And when I think back to some of I went into tax like straight away. That was my track going into accountancy. And I remember working back in the the early 1990s in Barclays, and that was my first taste of big transformation. Overnight, they decided they were going to move the entire business from a pre-tax measure to a post-tax measure, and suddenly the tax team were really in demand and really high profile because we held the information that made a difference to each business unit's performance. And I remember spending a really enjoyable year or two there, really helping design and redesign how we reported tax so that people didn't think it was a black box. And then I remember I moved then into the Deloitte tax transformation team and spent a really wonderful few years there learning how to do this properly, and then moved into a role that took me back to Ireland. I was the European tax director for Pfizer for 3.5 years, and that was a period of intense transformation where they were centralizing operations in a team in Dublin and a team in London, and I was in at the outset of that. And that's, I think, the thing that's run the whole way through my career is a real interest in how people work, in how technical content becomes transparent and shareable across the organization, how we think about using our specialists really well. And I think as I've gone through my career and learned those different things, that then took me into EY, where I continued as a partner in tax transformation. And it doesn't feel like a massive career change to work in a business that's about time, because really isn't that what tax is all about, is about doing things on time. So yeah, it probably, your question has unified the whole thing for me. I think there has been a pattern and a trend as I've gone through my career.
It's fascinating. It's great to hear. In terms of the qualification, what impact would you say it has had over the course of your journey?
I would say, first of all, it taught me to work really hard, because I hadn't done a BCom or any kind of numbers related qualification prior to that. So having to pivot to something that was quite different, that taught me that you probably can learn anything if you put your mind to it. But as a qualification, when I moved to London from Dublin, back in the late 80s, early 90s, it was just a passport to every organization. It was such a recognized qualification. There was no question. You really had the pick of interviews, the pick of organizations. The baseline was there. There was a real understanding of your capability and what you brought. So I was really grateful as I moved career into London that I had that qualification, because all paths led to this one, I would say.
And are there maybe particular characteristics or traits you think that are needed for somebody maybe that chooses to pursue a chartered accountancy career?
That's a good question. You would probably think being good with numbers and loving an old spreadsheet would be the sort of thing that you'd go for. But I would say there's probably three off the top of my head. I think the first one I've already talked about. I think you need a discipline of thought and a clarity of process. So I think discipline and rigor are really important. But hand in hand with that, I think you need a curiosity. And not just a curiosity about what people are telling you, but what things mean. And, just really the desire to follow the thread of something and get comfortable and that you understand. And then I think those two, curiosity and discipline, are absolutely no good to you if you can't communicate with your stakeholders, if you cannot convey the importance and significance of what you do as a chartered accountant with clarity and ease, then
Yeah.
I think that one's really important.
I suppose reflecting on your own journey and the variation of it, and there is a misconception often that it's very one-dimensional career path, and you are maybe restricted to those more traditional finance or accounting related roles. We would see it very much as a business leadership qualification. What would your views be on that?
I'm afraid I'd have to agree with you. And I'm probably going to go back to the olden days in answering this question, because I always have a recollection of taking a file into Jerry McAvoy's office in Stokes Place back in the day for a tax review.
Mm-hmm.
And the business understanding that I needed to demonstrate to that guy before I could even talk about tax has never left me. His insistence that you understood the business, you understood the analytics. This is even before data and big data and analytics and all of this. He expected you to have understood the business in order to do tax. So I would absolutely agree with you that as a trusted business advisor, a chartered accountant, it's an absolutely right mix.
Fantastic. And maybe in summing up, Carmel, what would you say to somebody considering this as a career path, chartered accountancy? Would you recommend it?
I would absolutely recommend it. I would say it goes hand in hand with not blindly going into the qualification as an end in itself. I mean, that's one way of doing it, but to really understand what it is that you're motivated by and what choices you want to make in your career and what you most value. Because I think is such a broad subject. There are so many dimensions to it that really understanding what motivates you is really important. And then you won't go into the qualification blindly as just a qualification. You'll really be drawn to the aspects of the curriculum that speak to you. So yes, but bring your heart and soul into it is what I would say.
Fantastic. Carmel, thank you so much. Fascinating chat. Really appreciate your time, and thanks again for joining our Chartered Career Chat series.
Thanks a lot, Sinead. Speak soon. Bye.